Dear students, we are studying the chapter Confronting Marginalization, and this is the second part of this chapter. In this part, we'll study about protecting the rights of Dalits and Adivasis. And in the previous video, we discussed about the policies of our country for the protection of Dalits and Adivasis. And today we'll discuss about specific laws that guard against the discrimination and exploitation of marginalized communities. And first of all, we should read the following case study adapted from a real life account. Through this case study, we'll try to understand how Dalits use the protection that laws provide. There is an example of a village, Jakmalgur. The villagers of Jakmalgur are gearing up for a big festival. Once in 5 years, means in each 5 years this festival is celebrated. The local deity is honored and priests from 20 neighboring villages come for this 5-day event. It means it is 5-day celebration and it is celebrated in every 5 years. The ceremony begins with a member of Dalit community washing the feet of all the priests who came from 20 neighboring villages and then bathing in the water used for this. So you can think about this activity, that how this means in humiliating, very insulting activity for Dalits, being human being. In Jakmalgur, the person who performed this task belonged to Ratnam's family. Ratnam is a character of this story. Ratnam's father and grandfather had both performed the same task before him, though they were never allowed to enter the temple. It means Dalits, he belonged to Dalits family, and Dalits were not allowed to enter in the temple there. This ritual was viewed as a great honor bestowed on them on this special occasion. Now, this time it was Ratnam's turn. Ratnam was all of 20 years, means his age was of 20 years, studying engineering in a nearby college, but he refused to perform this ritual. He said that he had no faith in this practice and that his family members were forced to perform this ritual because they were Dalits. Ratnam's refusal angered or enraged both the powerful castes in the village and some families from his own community. The powerful castes were shocked that such a young boy had the guts to refuse. They believed that it was Ratnam's education which allowed him to imagine that he could start comparing himself with them. So it was wrong activity in the views of the powerful caste people. Those from Ratnam's own caste were fearful of angering the powerful. Why? Because many worked on their fields as daily wage laborers. If the dominant castes decided to not call them for work, then what would they earn? It means they would be jobless and they will not be able to earn money for livelihood. So how would they survive? They also declared that the wrath of the local deity would strike them if they refused to give in. Ratnam argued that given that not a single Dalit had ever entered the temple, how could the deity be angry with them? It was the logic given by Ratnam. The powerful castes decided to teach Ratnam a lesson. His community was ordered to ostracize him. Ostracize means boycott or banish someone and his family. And everyone was told that no one should speak or do any work for them or with them. So all the people were directed to boycott Ratnam's family. One night, some men entered their part of the village and set his hut on fire. He managed to escape with his mother. Ratnam then went to file a case in the local police station under the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. So this is a law for protection of Dalits against some kinds of offenses. Other Dalit families still did not come out in his support as they were scared that a similar fate might await them if they spoke out. It means their house also might be burnt by the powerful caste people if they spoke in favor of Ratnam. The case was picked up by the local media that led to many journalists visiting the village. Ratnam was written about as a symbol of Dalit action. The ritual was called off, but his family was forced to move out as they continued to be ostracized by the powerful castes in the. So, dear students, with the help of this story, we can understand the use of laws and acts to protect Dalits and other backward people against the practices, hard and humiliating practices by the powerful castes and upper castes. Ratnam sought the support of law, filing his complaint under the above act. The Act Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 to protest against the domination and violation or violence of the powerful castes in his village. Now we'll study about the features of this act, the Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. The features and provisions of this act can be divided into three categories. The first category contains provisions of criminal law. It establishes criminal liability for a number of specifically defined atrocities and extends the scope of certain categories of penalizations given in the Indian Penal Code, means IPC. The second category contains provisions for relief and compensation for victims of atrocities against the Dalits and the scheduled tribes if any crime or offense is done by anybody. So for that, relief and compensation for the victims, means Dalits, of atrocities is there in the second category. The third category contains provisions that establish special authorities for the implementation and monitoring of the act. This act distinguishes several levels of crimes. Firstly, it lists mode of humiliation that are both physically horrific and morally reprehensible, and seeks to punish those who do these kinds of crimes, like force a member of a scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe to drink or eat any inedible or obnoxious substance, means very hazardous, obnoxious, hazardous and harmful material that is not good for human being, right? So this is also is considered atrocity or very dangerous harmful offense. Next, this one forcibly removes clothes from the person of a member of scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe, or parades him or her naked or with painted face or body, or commits any similar act which is derogatory to human dignity. So this kind of activity also considered as very serious offense according to this act or law. Secondly, it lists actions that disposes Dalits and Adivasis of their meager resources or which force them into performing slave labor. Thus, the act sets out to punish anyone who do these kinds of activity, like wrongfully occupies or cultivates any land owned by or allotted to a member of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, or gets the land allotted to him transferred. At another level, the act recognizes the crimes against Dalit and tribal women are of a specific kind and therefore seeks to penalize anyone who assaults or uses force on any women belonging to a scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe with intent to dishonor her. So this is also considered very serious offense and very harsh punishment is there to break this law or act.